Thomas L. Cole is the presiding judge of the Chatham County Juvenile Court. Prior to becoming a full-time juvenile court judge in 2015, Judge Cole was in private practice of law for 22 years. He served as the part-time judge in Thunderbolt, as chief judge in Port Wentworth, and as a judge pro tem in Superior Court, Juvenile Court, and Recorder's Court. Judge Cole began his public service as a staff member in the Executive Office of the United States in 1988. He served as chairman of the Chatham County Board of Elections, member of the City of the Board of Consumer Credit Counseling, president of the Catholic Lawyers Guild, Rotary, medical mission coordinator and translator, and in other civic and service organizations. He is a graduate of the University of Georgia School of Law and the George Washington University School of International Affairs. Let us welcome Judge Cole.
Thank you all very much. And one of the things when I do speak, I always leave it off of my list of things that I do, but because I want to share, really one of the most exciting things is I'm also the husband to a lovely woman named Allison, and we are parents of two great daughters, Katie and Caroline. And that's really the sort of the height of what I have done in my life above all else, and I like to share that. So I'm here today to share a message about hope, share a message about thanks, and what I'm going to share more specifically is something about the impact that this congregation has on children, families, and in our community through your support of our Celebrating Families program in juvenile court. And so on behalf of my fellow judges, Judge Roxanne Formey, Lindretta Kramer, Laura Singleton, we want to thank you for what you guys do as a congregation, because that work really is a source of hope for our court and for these families and for the children. I want to give you I have to start with a little bit broader context about where that fits in, particularly starting with juvenile court, and then I'll narrow it down some to dependency work, and then more specifically to the work you're doing. And I want to share as well an example of what that impact is and why it gives me hope. So our court, juvenile court in Chatham County, has the exclusive jurisdiction for all juvenile matters. And we are the sole court for initiating any action that deals with delinquency, which would be a crime if the person were an adult, dependency, which is the neglect and abuse that we're going to come to in that first narrowing, child in need of services cases. And those are things where where there's an offense that only a child can be charged with, like runaway or truancy. Well, all of us could run away. It's not a crime. You'll be in trouble when you get home, but practically speaking, it's not an offense unless you're a child. And then also we deal with traffic matters for juveniles. We have a host of special proceedings. So like if a 17-year-old wants to get married, we determine whether they should or shouldn't. If there's a waiver of a right for parents to know about a juvenile's desire to have an abortion, we hear those. We also have custody, shared jurisdiction with Superior Court. So if you're getting divorced or arguing over who should have children, we share custody of those in some cases with Superior Court, and then guardianship we share with Probate Court. But all of that, again, is sort of the myriad of things we handle in juvenile court. And our court in Chatham County includes technically 3 4/5 judges. And so we have one judge that works 4 days a week. And then we also have our own probation staff. We have our own clerks, our own administrators, and our own courthouse out on Chatham Parkway. or off of Chatham Parkway. We also have a number of specialty staff, and this is actually something that's unique, and as citizens in our county, it's something really to be proud of. Our county commission, our county manager, are all very supportive of the work we do, and when I say specialty staff, I'm using this also to help explain sort of the philosophy we utilize in our court, which is different than other courts, in other adult courts particularly. But our focus is on addressing the underlying factors that bring people to our court. Simply treating the symptom without getting to the underlying factor means we're just going to be doing it over and over and over. And that cycle is something that we want to break. So, for example, we have 2 mental health clinicians at our court that are on staff. The delinquent children that come to our court, 2/3 of them meet the criteria for a mental health diagnosis. 70% of those kids are untreated. And so they're getting in trouble really because they need to see a doctor, they need to see a counselor, and so we're focused a lot on the mental health side for these children. We have an educational advocate who's actually a shared employee with the Savannah Chatham County Public School System. So she's an employee of both, and which lets her then move back and forth and address issues that the kids have. And so with that, so often when a child doesn't have an IEP they need, when they're not doing well in school, they tend to get in trouble. And the more they get in trouble, the worse they're doing in school, and it just snowballs into a bigger and bigger mess. And so having an educational advocate actually lets us address that and fix that and get them re-engaged in school, thereby, again, addressing the underlying issue. We also have a number of specialty courts. And so the one that we're working towards narrowing down is the Family Treatment Court, which deals with substance abuse by parents that have made kids dependent, neglected, or abused. We have a juvenile mental health court. So sometimes the issues are so great that it's not just getting somebody connected to a doctor. We have a human trafficking court. So Chatham County, unfortunately, has the distinction of either being the number 4 or number 5 county in this state out of 159 for incidents of human trafficking, largely sex trafficking of juveniles, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds. And we have Georgia's first human trafficking court. So Judge Roxanne Formey has her Master's of Law in trafficking from American University and has set this up and is providing some amazing services for youth who are the victims of trafficking at this treatment court. And again, our commission supports this, so all of us as taxpayers are doing that kind of work. And it's pretty special because, again, we're changing and addressing the underlying factors so that by helping these people, helping these children, helping the families, we aren't coming back over and over. And in particular, we aren't seeing the next generation with the same issues because that intergenerational cycle is real, it's common, and it's something that we see over and over. On the dependency side of our work, the biggest single basis for children being neglected and abused is substance abuse. So substance abuse, parents with substance use disorder is that biggest single area. And the things to take away, it impacts all races, all genders, all classes of people. It is a disease that changes the way a person's brain works. And in dependency cases, their children are frequently removed and are in foster care because of that substance use disorder, which brings them to me as the presiding judge for the Family Treatment Court. The Family Treatment Court addresses broadly all of the substance use disorder issues for the parent, but gets to the underlying factors, making sure there's treatment, but also addressing the trauma that the parents have encountered. And unlike just an adult drug court that focuses on the substance use side, it's looking at the whole family. There is a 75% greater chance of a family reunifying if they go through family treatment court as opposed to just a classic defects dependency case. So, I mean, 75% greater is a big deal. And one of the key components to this program, to family treatment court, is the Celebrating Families program. So now we're getting back to where this congregation comes in. And I want to share and sort of illustrate with some specifics how that work actually helps break an intergenerational cycle of dependency and substance abuse. Most of the parents that come into my court, and just so y'all know, there gets to be a really happy, hopeful part as we wrap forward. It's not just going to be, you're not going to leave here thinking that's the worst stuff in the world going on, but most of our parents are in their 20s or 30s. They've been using drugs, and this is in the family treatment court and in dependency cases. They've been using drugs since their early teens, or earlier sometimes. 12 or 13 is a very common range. They've all experienced significant traumas in their life. Most have been molested. And that's one of the most common denominators for people with substance use disorder that we see in our court. They don't have stable housing. These are the parents. They don't have stable housing. They've never had a job that lasted more than a few weeks. And these are people in their 20s and 30s. Their life has been about chasing drugs for decades. And they've never parented sober. So their children, of course, have had some tremendous impact. Because when you talk about what ends up leading to this substance use disorder, it's a lot of traumas that they've experienced as a child. So these children are now experiencing these traumas. And that's why it's so important that a program like this exists, because it also addresses the children's traumas so that as they grow, they will be healthy and they will not be coming back to see me with their kids. And that's, if you want to get on your knees and pray for something, that's what we want, right? We don't want these children to experience the same. So Celebrating Families is an evidence-based program. It's used nationally and probably actually internationally. And it's a 16-week program. The parents and their children come for 16 weeks, one night a week. And we also work with the First Baptist Church over on Wheaton Street. Is it Wheaton that goes south? Yeah, Wheaton Street. And during this program, the focus is on developing healthy and addiction-free individuals, but it focuses on, during this 16-week period, the physical, psychological, social, and spiritual aspects. It incorporates healthy family living skills, and it integrates parenting skills and strategies that are really focused on breaking the cycle of addiction. Because it is evidence-based, what that means is there's been a lot of research. They've done it in a way to ensure that it's actually productive and helpful. And where this congregation fits with that program is every session begins with a family meal. So these, let's say half a dozen or 8 or however many families come together in the church social hall, and they have a meal. And so this congregation provides meals for that, and the parent and their children sit at a table. And what is always amazing is they will talk about how that's really the first time they've ever had a meal, sat down at a table and had a meal with their children. And some kids are small, some are infants, some are 10, 12. Well, we've had some that are 16. But these parents have never sat at a table and had a meal with their children. And, the first couple of sessions, and I know a couple of people from here, of course, come with the meals, but you'll see it's kind of chaotic. But after a couple of sessions, it's amazing to watch that transformation and see that family, because each family's at their own table, really engaging and enjoying a meal together. After the meal, the family breaks up into developmentally appropriate ages, so the parents all go to one session, and then by age group, folks split up. And in each session, they're focusing on the same materials, but they're doing it on an age appropriate. So there's even one now for like tiny kids, and so there's one session on nutrition and healthy eating. And so like the little baby kids will be coloring an apple, and that's the level they're at. But the parents are focused on that higher level. And of course it is cute to see the little guys come in with their apple. And then at the end, everybody gets back together and all of the family members connect around the activities and the topic and work on applying those skills, and they're connecting in a healthy way. This program, what's shared by the participants, is this really is one of the most meaningful parts of this whole 18-month to 2-year program, is the 16 weeks in celebrating families. The growth of the family, the reconnecting of the children with their parents is astounding and amazing to watch and observe. The impact specifically, and I want to share about a couple of families that have been in my court recently. Mamas, and here's a truth that I've seen over and over, mamas love their babies. Daddies love their babies, but mamas love their babies despite the substance use disorder. And children actually love and want to be with their parents. I mean, there is that, what we see, they want to be with healthy parents, certainly, but we see that connection, that draw. In the last few weeks, I've had some hearings that really were symbolic of this hope I'm talking about. And one of the parents is almost 40 years old, has a 2-year-old that's never lived with the parent because the child's been in care, in foster care. And for the first time in the 40, almost, the person's, like I said, almost 40, he's had a job now for over a year. He'd never had a job for more than a few weeks. It's the longest in his life. Got his first bank account in the last year. Almost 40 years old, had never had a bank account. Went through intensive residential and outpatient treatment, counseling to address lots of trauma to make sure this person is healthy, to be a healthy parent, a lot of parenting education, and an opportunity to demonstrate that healthy parenting. Has been testing negative for drugs, and this is somebody who, again, from early teens or earlier, has been using drugs from early teens through late 30s, consistently. Testing negative over and over. And our treatment provider tests them every week randomly. We test them every week randomly. And we also do other screens and monitor behavior to make sure that they're fully in active recovery. But for more than a year, negative. In May, got his first lease on a home in his life, and actually has a home, has a lease, and has built a life with a sober community that didn't exist in his world 2 years ago. And when I talk about hope, during our hearing just a couple weeks ago, the child, of course, knows me because we have hearings regularly. And of course, the child wanted to come see me. But after, hearing the evidence, after looking at the person's progress, I entered an order placing custody of this little man, the child, with a father for the first time in this child's life, for the first time in the parent's life. And actually holding the child, I handed this child to his father. And there was, having watched this person for a year and a half, 2 years, I guess 2 years now, there is no doubt that this child is now, from a world of chaos, substance abuse, and all sorts of traumas, this child is going to grow up with a loving, capable, safe parent in active recovery. And we're breaking this cycle of addiction. We're breaking the cycle of neglect and abuse. This child's gone home to a healthy parent that literally has never existed in this person's life, not in the child's life and not in the parent's life. And to know that this child now is going to grow up in a healthy, safe environment is an amazing, wonderful, hopeful thing. And an important and integral part of that was celebrating families. And so, just as you picture a child running to a loving parent for the first time as a custodian of this child, you guys help make that happen. And there's a direct connection, and it's marvelous, it's wonderful. And being, as a judge, working in a court where we can actually put things in place and affect a change, affect a difference, is why I get out of bed in the morning, And I want to, again, thank you. That's part of my message, is to thank you for what you're doing, for making that difference for this child, this family, which then impacts our whole community. And then it also, frankly, on a selfish level, it impacts me, because there was not a dry eye in the courtroom when I handed the little man to his dad, and that's just human, but it's pretty special, and I thank you guys for that. I will say that as part of our program with Celebrating Families, as one of our stakeholders, supporters, we are having graduation for 2 people from our family treatment court on August 6th at 3. So if somebody wanted to join and really see a little more about the program and the impact and hear a graduate story about their journey, it's really powerful. And that would be in juvenile court. Just reach out. There's my information is here with the church. So if somebody is interested, let me know, and we would welcome you to join us. And like I said, it's a very affirming and hopeful event. But thank you again for letting me come and join in your worship and time with you. Have a wonderful day. It's beautiful out, the sun's shining, and there's lots of hope in our community and world. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Cole. What an inspiring message. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. Our closing hymn is hymn number 1008 in your teal books, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. Matches up nicely with the message. Stand as you are able. Let us sing.
As we go our separate ways, may we remember that we are woven together with the threads of light, compassion, love, friendship, and shared goals for the benefit of all. Be safe and well.